How y'all doing? Paul Ryan, your host of your Across the Cowboys podcast, here earlier today than usual with some big news coming out for Cowboys Nation. The Seattle Seahawks releasing Quandree Diggs and Jamal Adams, both of their safeties in the salary cap move. And Quandree Diggs, a three-time Pro Bowler, being linked immediately already to the Cowboys on not even really officially day one of free agency, but I believe this is March 5th is the first day of the tampering period, if not March 5th, but March 7th. I do believe it is March 5th. So that's pretty exciting. And I was listening to 105.3 The Fan, the G-Bag show, and Brian Broaddus was talking a little bit about Quandree Diggs and saying how he's a versatile player. He can play both safety positions. He can play big nickel, and he's a leader in the locker room. That's what he asked his gang of seven. They gave him a little bit of a breakdown of the type of person and player he is. That's what they came back to say is a big thing about him is that he is a leader. He's a tough guy. And Brian Broaddus was saying, man, that's a perfect fit for Mike Zimmerman and Mike Zimmer. And, I know it's only day one. We've heard a lot of reports like this before, but that's exciting news if we, are going to be active early in free agency and going out and getting Mike Zimmer some guys, some pieces that he needs to really, I guess not necessarily go all in, but to build a defense that's going to be ready day one, with some veteran players that are ready to take that next step, and we don't really feel the drop off of Dan Quinn. In order to do that, we have to get Mike Zimmer some guys that fit his system, and being linked to Quandree Diggs, again, that's exciting. They were also talking about Tony Pollard, and I've talked about the running back position a couple of times, but they were saying how not to rule out a return, Tony Pollard to the Cowboys return, and I wouldn't hate that. Of course, it all depends on the price. I think ideally I'd like to get Tony Pollard back, maybe paying him $3 million a year. I know that's probably not realistic. Maybe a guaranteed $3 million a year, but they'll probably look something more like $5 million. But how would y'all feel about bringing Tony Pollard back on a 3-year deal for $15 million with 10 to 12 guaranteed? I wouldn't hate that. And plus, I'd like to, if we were to do that, then we could go out and get a guy like Braylon Allen, running back out of Wisconsin, who specializes more so in the first and second down. He's going to be a first and second down runner in the NFL. At least that's what people that I see talking on Twitter, the ones that I go to for analysis on rookies for fantasy football type stuff, and they say that Braylon Allen he's a tough runner coming from the Big Ten. That would be a nice 1-2 duo. Braylon Allen, he's only, I believe, 20 years old, 19 or 20 years old, still very, very young. Paired with Tony Pollard, who we know has that breakaway speed, has the ability to have those explosive plays. I'd like to see it, man, and be similar to Zeke and Pollard, of course, with Braylon Allen not having the miles that Zeke did. So I'd love to see that. And one last thing, Trey Lance also being discussed as a potential trade candidate, and they were talking about how, I forget the reporter that said that's what he heard at the combine, but that Trey Lance's trade value is a third-round pick. Me personally, I think I'd rather keep Trey Lance. At the same time, if you were to get Trey Lance for a third-round pick, as they were saying on the G-Bag Nation, I mean, that's, you could go out and you could get your running back, you could get your center, you could get a defensive back. I don't know which one I dislike more. I mean, I'm not ready to give up on Trey Lance, although he hasn't really shown a whole lot in the NFL. But we were able to get him for a 5th-round pick, and he's still very young. I believe only 24 or 25 years old. To get a potential future franchise quarterback for that kind of price, I mean, he could still sit, even if we were to extend Dak. He could sit for Dak for maybe another year, or maybe they decide that this is going to be Dak's year and Dak's last year, and Trey Lance gets, he's going to be the starter in 2025. I know I'm getting ahead of myself, guys, but a lot of exciting Cowboys talk this afternoon. It got me excited. I wanted to share that information with you guys in case y'all hadn't heard it. And be sure, as always, guys, if you can, take the time, make sure to subscribe to the Across the Cowboys podcast channel. Give my guy, my draft guy, CD Piglet, greatest co-host in the world, a follow on X, aka Twitter. Make sure to follow Brendan Smith, the conductor of the Fergie Hype Train. Follow him at Brendan_Smith26 there on X. And if you have the time, make sure to follow your guy, your favorite host, Paul_Ryan15. They'll have a good day.